Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. It's kind of nice actually. I'd been doing so many reviews, like pre-recording them a couple of months in advance for Disney movies, that it's kind of nice to be talking about a movie that wasn't something on Disney Plus. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I mean, I watched Thumbelina. That was on Disney Plus, but that's not a Disney movie, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, Marty Supreme, I wasn't ever really planning on watching this. I know this is one of those movies that was in that whole. You know how there's like six or seven movies or so that are in like an Oscar lineup every year, um, that are like duking it out for the Oscars. This was one of them. I just knew like Timothy Chalamet was in it, and it was about ping pong. I've always called it ping pong, but they call it table tennis in this. I guess it goes by both names. I don't really know anyone that calls it table tennis though here. Um, anyway, I thought it was gonna be about a guy playing a lot of ping pong. It's actually not. It's kind of weird. Um, I was right though, because I was watching it and I was thinking like this has to be based on like a real person or something, and it is. It's based on the autobiography of this guy, um, and I don't even think his name was actually the same as the. Hold on, let me see. I don't think it was the same name as the character, and it's like one of those that's like based on the autobiography of someone. Yeah, Marty Reisman, but the character's name in this is Marty Mouser. So, I don't. So it kind of makes me wonder when I watch these kind of movies, like how much of it is like based on real stuff, like real events and people in this person's life, and how much is just like dramatized because it's a movie. Like when I used to watch these kind of movies when I was, or more like the ones where they're like even more about a person's life and stuff. I used to always take them like very serious of like, this is probably how it happened. And when I was older, I was like, oh yeah, some of these things it turns out didn't happen from like things I haven't read about the actual person or anything. I just thought I'd mention that. Um, but yeah, I didn't really know anything about this one. I just remember with all the like Oscar previews and commercials, he like plays a bunch of table tennis. So I thought it was gonna be about a guy like an underdog trying to get through like a table tennis championship. No, it's about a guy that well he does play table tennis. You do get to see a bit of it at the beginning, which is really nice. It's about a guy who spends the entire movie trying to go to Japan. That's pretty much the plot. I mean, he's going there because of table tennis. He wants to play in Japan. Um, but yeah, for being about a guy that plays ping pong, there isn't really a lot of ping pong. Like there's some at the beginning, and there's like the big match at the end, and that's pretty much it. The parts when there is ping pong are really cool actually. Like it's a sport I don't really know about, but it was kind of fun just watching, and the way they did like the camera cuts and stuff. It's like that sort of back and forth between the players. And if there's anything that I think is inspired by ping pong within the movie itself, it's the soundtrack. Actually, the soundtrack was my favorite part of this movie. I don't really know how to describe it. It on one hand, I feel like it didn't match with the movie, but at the same time, it's like the beat of it did make me visualize in my head like the ball being hit. So maybe that's the point. But yeah, I went into this thinking it was gonna be a ping pong movie, but it's actually a drama about this guy desperately trying to get to Japan. There's not much ping pong in it, and he's kind of mean to everyone. He's kind of an asshole, and he gets like kind of called out on some of these things later in the movie, but just the way the main character treats people and kind of just takes advantage of other people just kind of bothered me. But that's just kind of who he is as a person in this, I guess. There's also for being a movie about like ping pong and stuff. There's way more sex in this movie than I thought. I mean, I wasn't expecting any sex, but there was like four or five sex scenes in this, and I was always kind of surprised whenever they popped up. Like, I'm not even joking. I never in a million years would have guessed that the opening like credits of this movie, you know, when they list all the people and stuff, was literally going to be like close-ups of a bunch of sperm trying to get in an egg. I mean, it's kind of cool at the end of it when the sperm reaches the egg and the egg turns into like a ping pong ball. That was cool, but I would have never guessed that was the opening credits. And it's not like two people having sex or something. It's like immediately how the movie starts or anything. It's like the characters are talking. Marty's uncle wants him to sell shoes. He doesn't want to sell shoes. Marty spends the whole movie telling everyone he's gonna like pay them back all this money when he like makes it big with this match in Japan, and things kind of just go wrong from him throughout the movie because of that. But yeah, then he has sex with this woman named Rachel. They're friends, and then it goes to the opening credits. But yeah, that was wild. That's some of the like craziest opening credits I've ever seen. Like I get that the characters had just had sex, but like, damn, dude. Um, I mean, the sex in this movie is fine. They don't really show any like really like nudity or anything. Um, but yeah, I was kind of surprised every time it happened. So yeah, way more of that than I expected. A lot of drama. I would have wanted more ping pong. Um, there's this one scene that did kind of gross me out a little bit, but I also understand why it was there in the story. Um, there's this guy, and I don't remember if he's like Marty's manager or friend, and he's talking about his time in the internment camps and how he ended up have spreading a bunch of honey all over his body, and then he went back to the rest of the people that were in the camps and they licked it off of his body. Like I completely understand that because they needed the nourishment and they're in a very desperate situation, of course. But it was just like the close-ups of the honey being licked off this person's body. It felt like a little icky, but I also understand it was there. I mean, there wasn't a lot of stuff like that, or the sperm opening credits. That's so weird to say, by the way. In this movie, like not too many things that I was kind of like that surprised by, but I just wanted to mention of some of those. Um, it feels like there's like several different little plots in this movie. Actually, like the beginning of the movie, like I said, Marty has sex with this girl Rachel, and she ends up pregnant. And throughout the movie, she's trying to get him to take responsibility, and he is completely denying that he could even be the father because he mentions about like no I pulled out, it's not mine. um, and I felt bad for her. I feel mixed on Rachel as a character, actually. Like on one hand I felt bad for her. Like she ends up marrying this guy that she doesn't want to be with, and then at the end she ends up hanging around Marty, and they're trying to get like money and stuff. Um, but then Rachel is also kind of swindling people for money as well, and kind of pushing it a little bit. So sometimes I didn't feel bad for her. But then it is nice. The ending of the movie is nice though when Marty actually does finally take responsibility for that baby. He goes to the hospital, and the baby is born, and it is kind of sweet. He goes to the maternity ward in like the area where the babies are. I don't remember what that's called. And he sees his baby, and he just like full on cries. The crying actually looked pretty real to me. I'd say good acting on that for Timothée Chalamet. So that was actually kind of sweet with the ending, though it was kind of interesting that then it goes to the credits, because it's like the babies are crying, and Marty is crying looking at his baby. His baby isn't crying, but like the other babies are crying. Um, and then it goes to the credits, and then you still hear the baby crying sound, but it goes on for like not for the entire credits, but like for way longer than I expected. It kind of felt like a bit much, honestly. I don't know if that meant there was supposed to be like more, additional meaning there or anything. I'll be honest, most of my notes are just like moments in the movie I thought were pretty crazy because that's kind of the most memorable. Like there's several times in the movie where people try to arrest Marty. The first time it happened, I was kind of a bit surprised. It's He's talking with his uncle, and the uncle's like, "You're either gonna give up table tennis and work in my shoe store, or I'm gonna have you arrested." And then a cop actually does show up to arrest Marty, and then there's like a second time he almost gets arrested. There's this whole plot line about this dog. I think the dog runs away or something, and Marty is trying to get money kind of from the guy that lost the dog by bringing him the wrong dog. And then there's a different dog. There's this one part um, where Marty's taking a bath in a hotel, and the bathtub falls through the floor and it lands on top of a different dog, and the dog thankfully ends up okay. But there's just like a lot of really tense moments like that suddenly just happen, and it's like, whoa. Or there's this part towards the end where um, these people are trying to get this group of probably like 20 something year olds or whatever are trying to get money from Marty that I think they think he owes him or whatever, and he sprays them with gasoline, and somehow it ends up catching on fire. But it's kind of like a cool like bit where he looks kind of horrified. Then you see what he's looking at, and it's like all of these people are on fire. I mean, that's not like cool. I just mean, um, I don't know. And Marty never gets in trouble. I don't think anyone ever finds out that he caused those people to die, but that was pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, most the plot is pretty much about money, where Marty is trying to get money from people so that he can go to Japan for this match in to table tennis match to end up in like this big tournament. And then he Rachel kind of ends up involved in it as well, where she's also trying to like swindle people for money. um and then oh gosh, what's her name? I'm trying to remember. There's a specific actress that plays a character named Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow is also in this movie, and that's like a whole other plotline going along too. Like I said, there's like a bunch of different like things kind of happening throughout the movie. There's a character named Kay, and she's this rich actress and has a husband that sells pens. He ends up actually being way more important than I thought he'd be. But the Kay's the person that Marty kind of just has sex with the most. Um, but she's kind of an interesting character. You can tell she's like not happy with her husband, and towards the end of the movie, Marty's trying to make up some stuff to get money out of her, and she immediately calls him out on his bullshit. Barely anyone really does. I mean, most people sort of believe him, or they're kind of talked into it of like, oh, okay, I'll help you, I guess, or whatever. Marty's like really good at kind of manipulating people, but Kay immediately like calls him out on his bullshit, and then decides to help him anyway and gives him a necklace that would give him enough money to get to Japan. But then it ends up getting taken by the cops and stuff. And then it is kind of nice when he finally does get to Japan, and you're like, cool, he's gonna do this big match and stuff. And then it turns out like, oh yeah, there was no point in you coming here. You can't get into the tournament or anything. But then he does end up actually getting to play and have a serious match, and that was pretty nice to end on. That was fun to watch. I feel like, I mean, again, I don't really know much about like table tennis and stuff. I feel like the matches towards the beginning, I was more interested in those than the final one, which you'd think it would kind of be the opposite. Um, but yeah, it's a good match. And Marty goes through so much to try to get to Japan that I feel like no matter how I felt about his character, you are kind of rooting for him in a sense of like he finally gets to Japan after everything he goes through, you know, which included like the way he even ends up getting the money too. Um, is that Kay's like rich asshole husband? Um, you know, he's someone that had originally offered Marty a way to get Japan at the beginning, and Marty said no because he's kind of too stubborn and like a narcissist and stuff. And then Marty spends the entire movie trying to find other ways to get the money and ends up kind of crawling back to this guy and being like, hey, I'm sorry. Can I please take you up on your offer? But you know what? A lot of other people, like, a lot of, you know, they're all like grown adults, like older than Marty and stuff, that he's interacting with throughout this. I mean, not like everyone, but like most of the characters they kind of don't really talk that nice. Like he's kind of a little shit, but like it's not like the adults are any better either. Sometimes Marty's even kind of a bit more like polite trying to ask them for things or to apologize or whatever, and they don't really take him seriously. I mean, I understand why they don't take him seriously on his dream of playing in Japan, but even sometimes when he's asking for help or just talking to them or whatever, they're all kind of rude to everyone's kind of almost everyone is like kind of rude in this, honestly. Um, but yeah, there's this the guy that ends up letting Marty go to Japan as like a punishment ends up telling him like, "Hey, bring me this paddle," and then literally like spanks him on the ass in front of this guy's like friends at a party and stuff. Thankfully, it's like a short scene, but I was kind of surprised by that. Um, But I guess Marty did kind of need to be punished in some way. And then I thought he was going to have like further punishment. There's like this whole thing when he gets to Japan where the people in charge of the event, they want him to kiss a pig and go into a like a not real table tennis match. And then Marty ends up talking his way out of it. And it's kind of a nice scene because he ends up trying to ask the audience. I mean, there is a language barrier that it's like all of these Japanese people and Marty only speaks English, but he's trying to get them kind of riled up to be on his side of getting to play like a real match where he can show his skills. And it's like the final match in the movie as well, and they all end up getting into it and wanting to see him play and stuff and not just some like fake match to kind of entertain them or whatever. And that was actually a cool scene. I felt like that was kind of the most in the movie where I was sort of rooting for Marty. I mean, I wasn't rooting for Marty because I liked him as a character or anything, but it's more so of like watching his like long struggle, you know, to try to just get to play this one match. And it takes like 2 hours into the movie as well to get to Japan. But that's the thing that's kind of funny. Even though I liked the ping pong stuff and I wanted more of that, I feel like part of the fun in the movie in a sense was just the complete bullshit Marty has to go through and the things that happen and some of the other characters like get like pretty violent as well. Like there's this part where there's like what I can describe as evil choir music. There's this old guy, he spends part of the movie trying to get his dog back and he goes to this house and it like turns into a shootout and there's this like evil choir music that's playing and I'm like, what the heck is happening? Um, but yeah, this movie definitely gets pretty nuts. I at the same time, even though there were some things I like, I feel like overall I didn't really care for it. I don't know if it was because it was just different than what I was expecting. I mean, I was expecting it was going to be more table tennis because like, you know, that's kind of what all the ads were. Um and it was like completely different than what I feel like I was told it was supposed to be. But yeah, I feel like it just kind of these sorts of movies. Um, it's almost like a little stressful to watch. Of like, I didn't really like Marty as a character, and I didn't really like everyone else, and the way he's like treating people just kind of bugged me. I mean, that's just like he is who he is, and he's like swindling these people and stuff, and I get it. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's still a little hard to watch in that sense. Like I talked to my dad, um, like an hour ago, and I told him like, hey, I watched the movie, and I told him like, I even told him like, well, this is just based on like his taste in movies and stuff. I don't know how yours are. Maybe you'll like this movie. I don't know. I'm just saying like I didn't care for it, and I told my dad like, yeah, I don't think you're probably gonna like this one. Um, but you know, watch it. I'm curious to see how like what other people's opinions are. But like me personally, I'm just saying I didn't really care for it, and I don't really recommend it. But I do find it interesting at the same time that it was in like that like Oscars running of like the big movies of the year and stuff. Like I could like kind of see why, but yeah, just not really for me. But that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I have some other movies I'm gonna watch as well. I think some ones on Tubi. There's one with David Bowie I wanted to watch. I think it's called The Linguini Incident, and just a couple of other ones. I think I'll probably play Tomodachi Life for a bit though, and then probably hop into those movies because I kind of want to get back into movies. I just needed to. It's interesting. It's like I spent a week watching like 13 different Disney movies or whatever, and I need a movie break. And then I got access to play Tomodachi Life, and I played Tomodachi Life for like 5 days. And then I got a little burnt out, and then I did this, and now I'm going back to Tomodachi Life, and then probably back to movies. It's like a constant cycle for me. But yeah, I'm glad I got to see this anyway. I don't watch all of the Oscar nominated movies like every year, but I usually tend to watch at least like one or so, or maybe a little after the Oscars. I kind of keep them on my radar for a bit, so you know what? At least I can say that I've seen it. All right, thanks for watching. Bye bye.